Hello, pipe smokers. Yeah, this is Paul Gilson, aka Paul the Pipe Guy, live from the outskirts of Rochester, New York, in the United States of America. Thank the Lord. And it is April 8th. Um, yeah, I believe it's April 8th. Uh, yeah, yeah, it's Saturday, April 8th, and it is 3 o'clock on the nose, Eastern Standard Time. Beautiful day outside, a little chilly for my bones. It's 40 degrees. It's a beautiful sunny day. And Greg, I got my Chevy Silverado hat on just for you because I just watched your video on what you were talking about, some of your favorite memories from your youth. And I'd like to capitalize on that. I ain't gonna rip you off or nothing because we all, you got your memories and I got mine. But we do have a box opening. Yeah. So I blend my some of my own tobacco, and we got this from Scott Bailey, SR Bailey Imports. It just came. And let's see what's in the box. I already know what it is. Oh, yeah. And here we go. Oh, my gosh, it's got peanuts in it. These little peanut things. I'll tell you what. One time I had a buddy of mine, all right, and they used to have these little peanut things, all right, actually, that they ship stuff in. And my friend, I worked with him, and he would come in and grab whatever I was eating, and he'd be like, "Oh man, can I have some?" So one time I was on a date, all right, and he found out where I was and showed up and ate my date's dinner, then tried to pick her up. Yeah, Timmy, we're still friends today, 40 years later, you know. So one day I decided that I got a box in, this was many, many years ago, and it had, the curly Q things, whatever they are. I don't know, they're about that long. They're Cheetos, I think they call them. So I got this package in at a dealership that I worked at back circa 1992. So we're going back 30 years or so ago. And I got the shipping material in that looked exactly like the little curved Cheetos. And so I went over and I bought a bag of Cheetos. We were at work. And I took the packing material and I mixed it up with the actual Cheetos, the orange colored things that just like are full of salt and all kinds of terrible stuff. Cheetos, yeah, I think they're called Cheetos. So I mixed those up and I come back, I got the bag sitting on my desk and he comes in, he's like, "Oh man, what'd you buy?" I said, "Oh man, they got these new Cheetos out. It's got white cheese and yellow cheese." He's like, "Oh man, I gotta have some." He starts woofing this bag down. So he's eating styrofoam packing material along with real Cheetos. And I was like, "Whoa, stop." I had to stop him after a while. I was like, "Dude, that's like packing material. It was just a joke." Well, he must have woofed down, I don't know, 20 of these packing material things that looked like Cheetos. Anyways, he's still alive 30 some years later. So let's get back to the box opening here. Yeah. So we got this, and what it is, it's the Cigar Merchant, is where I got this from. The Cigar Merchant. And, I don't know, with shipping and everything, it was $19.20. And what do we have in here without spilling packing material all over the place? Yeah. We have... Well, I did spill a little bit. Who cares? Whatever, The cat will play with it. Yeah, what do we get? Oh, yeah. Cornell and Deal tobacco. Bright Virginia ribbon. Yeah. Because I was using this other stuff, which is, I don't know, it don't matter. But it was flake. This is ribbon, and I wanted ribbon to blend my tobacco with. So, yeah. And that's from, yeah. I don't know. Must be a small business. I don't know. Oh, yeah. It smells like hay. There we go, folks. Bright Virginia. Pure by Cornell and Deal. Unadulterated. And that's what I got for myself for some of my mix and blends. Let's start something on fire, all right? So we had our giveaway yesterday, and but let's not go into that yet. So I got my Mr. Bragg number 14 church warden pipe, Greg, right there, yeah. And I only smoked church warden out of it. And, you know, I said a little prayer. I was like, because sometimes I misplace stuff. And I couldn't find this. So I got this 2-year-old 2-ounce bag of church warden. It's 2 years old, all right? And the way that this church warden tobacco comes in, like I said, it's from Watch City Cigar and Pipe, Framingham, Massachusetts. Church warden. That's 2, maybe 3 years old. And so, yeah, it comes like that. I don't know what you want to call it. It's in strips, and you got to cut it and rub it out. All that stuff, you know. So that's aged. Yeah. So that's our church warden tobacco that I will only smoke out of my church warden pipe. It's dedicated to that. And oh, 2 years of age. Oh man, that's good. This church warden. Yeah, I inhaled a little bit. This church warden pipe with this church warden tobacco. It's better off just to sip it. Sometimes I get carried away when I do stuff. I go all the way, so I can smoke my pipes like a freight train sometimes. So we had our giveaway yesterday, and I kind of flubbed it up. So we had 2 winners, both of them, Tom York and Mr. Swede, contacted me, and your packages will be sent out next week. You should have them within a week or 2. And the only thing excuse me, I'm getting a nickhead. The only thing injured in that video, that giveaway video, was my bullet blender. Yeah. It appeared to have died. And it's brand new. I'm going to have to contact Amazon. So, you know, the Tunnel Take Greg, he was talking about some memories and so forth that he had as a younger man. And Greg, I don't know how old you are. I would suspect you're probably in your 50s. I watched that video of yours that you just came out with, and you were talking that you owned a '68 Camaro and a '67 this and blah 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 and blah blah blah, all these cars, muscle cars and stuff. And I'm thinking, well, he don't look over like 50 years old, really. So you must have been buying some classic cars at that time. And Greg, if you're over 50, I guess that would be a compliment because you don't. You look like you're losing weight too, man. I mean, you look healthy. Hmm. Oh yeah. Some of my favorite memories. Mm. I remember being on Grandpa's farm, being about 2, 3 years old, and my father and my grandfather decided that it was time for me to learn about firearms, and I was 2, 3 years old. My grandpa had an old J.C. Higgins 22 caliber single shot bolt action rifle made by J.C. Higgins. It was sold at Sears and Roebuck Company. I haven't smoked this pipe a lot, so she ain't broken in. She's warming up a little bit. I'm gonna let her rest. Yeah. And I remember it was in the summertime, and my grandpa lived on. He was retired from General Motors, and had probably about a 5 acre vegetable garden, fruits and vegetables he grew, and he'd have a little farm stand out in front, and it was he'd have a mason jar out there. And back then, we're talking in the late '60s, early '70s, it was like 5 cents for a quart of strawberries. 5 cents. Now, where his little farmette was, it was on Ridge Road in this little town of Heartland, New York. And Ridge Road actually runs along an old Indian path for many, many miles. And Lake Ontario used to actually, thousands of years ago, come up to Ridge Road. So if you go north of Ridge Road, the land dips down and it's very sandy soil. And he lived just on the south side of Ridge Road. It was still very sandy soil, but it must have been an old Indian burial ground or something like that, because every year he'd till up that big garden and us grandkids would go out there. It was very sandy, sandy soil. And we'd find like spearheads and arrowheads. They were made out of flint, all right? And, we used to eat, when he'd till up the land, he'd bring all this stuff up, amazing. We'd find antique bottles, that were hundreds of years old. I still have some. Going back to the firearm stuff, with my grandpa's 22, I remember my father, my birth father, and my grandpa Miller decided that they wanted to let me try to shoot the 22 caliber rifle. I think I was 2, 3, 4 years old at the most, and I couldn't even hold the thing up. My father had to hold it up, and he'd be like, I remember my cousins that were older than me being like, shoot the rabbit. And my dad's holding the gun up, and so forth. And I pulled the trigger, and of course, there was a little pop. 22 caliber rifle don't make much sound. And then cock it open, they'd load another shell in. They let me shoot that 3, 4 times. That is my very first memory of using a firearm, and we were responsible We weren't idiots. You know, my grandfather, my grandpa Miller, was born in 1908. My father was born in 1944. He was the youngest of several children. So, you know, that was the way back in the day that you supported your family. You know, you hunted, and if you had a garden, you had to protect it from, you know, varmints and so forth that would eat your food. My grandparents had a root cellar. They had a cistern. They had a well with a well pump. None of you younger people even know what that is. If you want to know what it is, Google it. I'm going to pause the video for a nanosecond. All right, probably running on too much. I'll be right back. All righty, Paul the Pipe Guy's back. Yeah, so those are my memories at Grandpa's farm. I remember my first bicycle that I ever got. I think it was a Schwinn. And this would have been circa, let's see, circa 1969. I got my first bicycle. I think it was like a 20-inch or a 24-inch bike. I don't remember. I don't recall. But it was sparkly green. And it had green sparkly handle grips. And it had ape hanger handlebars, which if anybody knows about motorcycles, they'll know what ape hanger. So this thing was a racer, all right? The handlebars came up, so you'd sit and you'd hold on to that bike like that. It had a banana seat that was sparkly green. It had a mini sissy bar on the back. It had a red line slick tire on the back, and those rims were chrome. The spokes were chrome. It had no shifter on it or anything. There was just one gear as fast as you could pedal. And I owned that bike from 1969 to 1982 when I broke the frame doing a 25-foot jump over a ramp. Yeah, I got going as fast as I could down the hill. You know, back then, Evel Knievel, the stunt motorcycle guy. So we used to, you know him. So we built a ramp that was probably about 3 foot high and about 6 foot long. And we actually had a measuring tape, and we'd have contests to see who could jump the furthest. Now, let me tell you something. All right. We had no helmets, no knee pads, no anything. And we were riding down the street at probably about 20 miles per hour downhill and hit the ramp. And when you hit the ramp, you had to pull up on the front, because if you just hit the ramp, I mean, you had to gauge it. We started out with smaller ramps, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And of course, these weren't motorized motorcycles; they were bicycles. There was no speed. There was a front sprocket and a rear sprocket. And after a while, we figured out that if you got a real big front sprocket, all right, where the pedals were, and the tiniest rear sprocket, it would be hard to pedal, but you could get going like 30 miles an hour, you know? And so, yeah, I remember I think my longest jump was 28 feet. And I remember going through the air like Evel Knievel. And, you know, you hit the ground, you know, and we were just kids then. And, yeah, that's why I got this fake tooth. If you see that right there. Yeah. That tooth was busted off. It was just starting to come in. I was 11 years old. I've had this tooth since I was 11. All right. It's a cap. And I was doing some jumps or whatever, and I did a jump. And when I did the jump, the front tire came off of the bicycle. And here I am midair, probably 4 foot in the air. The front tire on the bike comes off, so all you got is the forks. Well, of course, when you go to do a landing, you got to either have a wheelie. I didn't have time to do nothing. those front forks dug in, and I shot out, and I had asphalt in my face. I still have a couple scars from it, and I face planted, and they had just oiled the road. They oiled it, and they put new gravel down over it. So that was a wonderful face plant for me. And my buddy Dickie, Dickie, I get up, he's like, you all right? And I got, like, I'm telling you, I had gravel ground into my face. And I was like, yeah, I'm all right. And he's like, your tooth, you're missing a tooth. I was like, what? And I like this. And my tooth had just started to grow in, and it broke it off right at the gum line. And he's like, oh, here it is. He picks it up off the street. He's like, here's your tooth, Paul. I was like, what the hell, man? And back then, my dad, my birth father worked for General Motors, so they had like bulletproof health insurance. So of course I go into my mom. The root is hanging out, so if I rubbed it with my tongue or something like that, it was like someone sticking a railroad spike up my skull. And they took me for emergency repair work. Yeah. Somehow they lifted the gum line up, they ground it down to a point, and they put that cap on, which I've had that cap for, ever since then. They said it'd only last about 20 years, and I've had it for, almost 50. I don't know, something like that. Yeah. I could tell a lot more stories about my childhood. My childhood was awesome. It was back in a time when things were innocent. You didn't have all this rhetoric going on. I try not to watch the news and so forth. And it's just all bullshit nowadays. Everybody's greedy, and it is what it is. Well, tomorrow's Easter. I have my Cornish hens. They're thawing out. Checked on them earlier. Oh, they're getting soft. Yeah, I can't wait. And so we've rambled on here for about 23 minutes. And, so Greg, I appreciate you. Greg the Tunnel Take. Check out the Tunnel Takes channel. Tunnel, like as in a tunnel, something you drive through, and take, like you take something from someone. Tunnel Take, yeah. And check out his channel. And you gave me some inspiration, Greg, about sharing some of my sharing some times when life was really good, when we didn't have everybody that was so greedy. And there's always been greed, but the world today, I try not to even look at it, because it's just going to be what it's going to be. And there's one guy that's in charge, and that's the guy up there. I don't know, those old school memories. I try to live my life that way still today. I was talking with my mom earlier. She's 76, almost 77. Thank the Lord. She's in great health. And I talk to my mom. I'm not a mama's boy, but I love my mother, and she instilled in me some great attributes that if it wasn't for my mom, I wouldn't have the skills or knowledge, or I wouldn't be the man I am today. So thank you, Mom. I love you. Yeah. I hope I have her around for a long, long time. Yeah, I exhaled because I was thinking about when times were honest, pure, innocent, and good. And now, in today's world, it's the opposite. So, us like minded people, I think we ought to stick together, and support each other. You can't go back. The only thing you can do is to take them things that you were taught and the way you were brought up and the way that your community and the world was back then. You could make your own world in your own house. You could in your own circle of friends, and that you don't have to be a part of this craziness. I guess if you don't want to see the clowns, don't go to the circus. That's why I love to be at my home, right here. It's my circle of things that I can control. Uh, yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's a long video. Probably nobody has reached the end of it. It don't matter. I'm just rambling on. Not sad or anything. It's a happy day. Yeah. Anyways, I'm Paul the Pipe Guy from the outskirts of Rochester, New York, in the United States of America. God bless you all. Yeah. And happy pipe smoking, pipe smokers. Over and out.